Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Home Wrecker Podcast. I am the Golden Greek, Alex Arion, joined as always by my beautiful, lovely, gorgeous, amazing trophy wife, Monique. Monique, how are you?
Hello, I'm super wicked awesome.
That's amazing that you can do that.
What, are you so excited?
So excited.
Well, we have a very special guest today. I should be excited.
All right. Well, who's our special guest?
The one, the only. You may know him from Chaotic Wrestling. You might know him from Ring of Honor Wrestling. But to us, he'll always be just Brian Milonas. From the WPAN.
I'd have given you a way better introduction. I should have done the intro.
Okay, fine. Let's see you do it.
No, it's okay. It's our good buddy Brian Milonas, the Kingpin.
Al may know me from when he was looking up at the lights when I was pinning him.
Right, exactly. See, that was the intro I was going to give him. The guy that beat me all the time, Brian Milonas. That was.
I'm not returning any favors, you know.
Well, you guys have a history too. Big business, right?
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, we did all that stuff too. That's right.
You guys did.
Yeah.
So many memories.
Big business. Right?
Big business, buddy.
Tremendous.
Yeah. So, Brian, how are you doing? Thank you for being on today.
I'm good. I'm bored as hell.
Really?
You know, it's
wow.
To go from I still work a 9-to-5 job, so I wish it was only 9 to 5, but work that job, be a dad, enrolled in school, traveling all the time for wrestling, and then all of a sudden life just comes to the screeching halt, and I don't even have to leave the comfort of my home to go to work anymore. So yeah, it's wild right now.
Wow. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
How are you doing at home with the kids?
My son, he's 4, Michael, you guys know him. He tried to flush an apple down the toilet today.
Oh no.
Yeah, that's how it's going. I mean, I feel bad for them. They're going stir crazy. Kids don't understand, especially him. You know, you can't really explain this stuff to them, so they just know, like, hey, everything we like to do, we can't go do. We're just kind of stuck in the house, so it's just trying to find stuff to keep them occupied and happy and not kill each other, and hopefully neither one of us will kill them. So, me and Steph, so.
There you go.
Yeah.
What are we doing today? Try not to kill each other.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is. It's funny when you think about all the things you take for granted and do in life, and the freedom just to go anywhere you want and do anything you want and fly anywhere you want, and then all of a sudden, like, I can't do any of that, and I'm just sitting in the house. So it's wild. This is the most unprecedented situation of our lifetimes, for sure.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
So, Brian, I want to ask you, for you, not just only as a Ring of Honor wrestler, but as a person, what are you doing to help contribute to others during this trying time? I'm messing with you.
She was messing with you, by the way.
Trying to stay home.
There you have it. No, I was just messing with you. We know that everyone's like, I mean, I even heard stories like people are dropping their kids off at the hospital because they can't deal with them.
Yeah.
They're like, we don't know what to do. Yeah.
Well, I haven't reached that point yet. It's more just like get up in your room. Get up in your room.
Yeah.
Like, what's wrong with you? Why are you doing this? What made you think that was a good idea? Those types of questions.
Oh my gosh. I think every parent listening right now or watching is like, yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and you get ask, why did you flush that apple down the toilet? I don't know. Oh, great.
Yeah.
Great.
Think of it as a science experiment for homeschooling.
There you go.
Right?
There you go. Sure.
Yeah,
What happens when you flush
like
the
that.
apple? Yeah.
Exactly.
Good.
Always finding the bright side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now, let me ask you this: what do you think about stuff like Disneyland and Disney World closing? Being a big Disney fan.
Yeah, I mean it's depressing. It's like there's no escape. I mean, but yeah, it's wild to see the pictures of it just empty and it's sitting there or something. They're losing something like $40 million a day in revenue, which makes you think about like how much revenue those places pump out, and you get. I mean, it's wild to think about like how much everything's shut down.
Yeah.
Theme parks, sports, just everything is just like come to a screeching halt, and it's Jesus, I mean, I never thought I'd see something like this where I think the last time they closed maybe was like 9/11 or something like that. I think last time Disney World just completely ceased operation. That was, I think, for a day or two.
Yeah.
It wasn't even like a long period of time. So this might be months that they're closed down. So it's, but I get it. It's necessary. It's, there is no such thing as social distancing when you go to Disney World.
True.
Imagine if they just let one family in the park at a time. How awesome that would be! Like having the whole park to yourself.
How sick would that be? Right.
I mean, I would love to be there right now. That'd be tremendous. Nobody. I don't even need to go on the rides. Just turn on the lights for me, and I'll just sit there. And
I was just thinking vacation when they go to Wally World and it's closed.
Yeah.
And the Griswolds just go. It's like they have the entire park to themselves. That's social distancing, right? If they just do one family at a time.
We'll make Crockett play the role of John Candy in our version of it.
Yeah,
tremendous.
Nice. Yeah. Now, like with Disney and being such a big Disney fan, what do you know about the mysterious Club 33? Do you know anything about it?
Not tremendous. Is that like the supposed like secret club? Is that Disneyland though?
I don't know if it's Disneyland or Disney World.
Special...
Yeah, it's like supposed to be. You have to like pay a ridiculous amount of money to get into this club, and I think Jamie is in Club 33.
I was gonna say, didn't we just see our friend Jamie post something about that?
I think he's in it. I've never asked him about it, but I'm pretty sure that he's a member. It's something like $70,000 a year or something like that to be part of this club. And I don't know if you get special meals or I don't know what you get. I have no idea.
Wow.
But yeah, there's like a pretty stiff price tag that you have to pay to be part of this club.
Well, even being the mega star that I am in the world of professional wrestling, I say that not with an ounce of sarcasm.
Right. No, we know you stay humble.
My tax bracket.
No, we know you're just being humble.
Yeah.
I mean, what's $70,000 a year?
I think that's what it is. It might be less. It might be more. I don't know. But it's pretty steep. It's a pretty steep price tag to be part of this club. And it's just all rumors and speculation as to what you get if you're part of this Club 33.
You get to see Walt Disney's cryogenically frozen body, I think.
All right. Yeah, I mean, that's worth it.
I was going to say I'd pay for that. Yeah.
That would be worth it, actually. That'd be wild.
Right? Now, what have you been doing, aside from just sitting around? Like, how are you passing time with the family right now? What are you guys doing?
Yeah, I mean, we're watching a lot of movies. My daughter's 8. Literally an hour ago, we started watching Stranger Things. She's been very enthralled with Stranger Things.
Nice.
That's awesome.
So I was like,
all right,
we'll give it a try. I mean, we're all roughly the same age, the three of us, and I think of the things I watched by the time I was her age. And I'm way more conservative with things. Like, we started watching The Goonies, and I think after the first swear, I was like, nope, we're going to shut that off. And I'm like, I probably watched The Goonies 100 times by the time I was 8 years old.
Yeah.
So it's funny. But yeah, I mean, for her too, it's a little easier with her. She's 8. She can occupy herself. She has schoolwork. She can take her dance classes virtually. A lot of our time is spent just trying to occupy the little guy, and trying not to get him to jump off furniture and, break things. And just, we just bought a house. So we're trying not to get him to smash up the house, is a chore in itself.
Right. It's what boys do, though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I tell that to my daughter, because she doesn't appreciate a lot of Michael's antics.
And she's 8 now?
Oh, my gosh.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy cow. Yeah, time flies.
Wild, man. Wild. I mean, I think back to, I don't even know if you remember this, but this was like us, me and you, Al, talking. I don't even know if you had even started to come around Chaotic yet at this point. I'm unsure of timelines, but me and you, it was in Derry. It was actually right down the road from my house, walking distance from my house, and us just having a conversation literally about these types of things, getting married, having children, things like that. And I don't know why this conversation sticks in my head, but it's so wild, and fast forward however long later, and in some instances it feels like it was yesterday, in some instances it feels like a lifetime ago.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Yeah, I mean, crazy how quick time flies, huh? and just
It sure does.
I mean, that's crazy. Just thinking about that, because it's weird with me with wrestling. I haven't been involved in it now for a while, and when people bring up stuff like this to me, I'm like, oh yeah, okay, yeah. It's like once I left it, I kind of stopped thinking about everything really, and like I forgot a lot of stuff as far as like stuff that I used to do in wrestling. I've forgotten a lot of it. But like the thing that I missed the most though is like the conversations that we've had. You know what I mean? Not just you and I, but everybody. Like I miss the conversation. I miss like seeing all the guys and the camaraderie that was there. Like I've never found anything like that, and I'm not aware of anything like that anywhere else. The kind of camaraderie that's there with pro wrestlers.
Yeah, it's a weird bond. I mean, it's the funny. Everybody knows the deal with pro wrestling. You try not to hurt each other. Pro wrestling is also, in a weird sense, the more comfortable you are with somebody, the better friends you are, the harder you hit each other.
Right.
Because you know it's cool. You know you're gonna be cool afterwards. But it's the camaraderie in the locker room, the just being around the guys, the ability. I don't think in all my other kind of walks of life, I'll see people from high school that I haven't seen in a long time. The conversation will be awkward, and I'm trying to get out of it rather quickly. With the bond in wrestling, you go 5-6 years without seeing somebody and pick up with them, like that, like you just were talking 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, it's so strange how it's like that. But I mean, if I talk to somebody that I haven't spoken to in a long time, it's just like, oh, okay, pick up right where you left off. It's the weirdest thing. It's the weirdest thing. But like you were saying though, if I see somebody from like high school, it's kind of one of those like, oh, hey, what's that? It's a little awkward, but like people from wrestling, it's like, hey, what's up, man? How you been? How you doing? It's just...
And people from high school, you give that big, well, I'll see you later.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's pretty wild, but yeah.
Well, for me, when I was at Chaotic, I've said it before, but I went because I thought like, oh, you go and you learn moves, you learn how to do things, and I didn't understand what everything really was. And then you get to know all the people, and they're for the most part, the majority of people are so wonderful. And it's like they become a part of your family.
Yeah.
And So now I miss everybody.
I think when I think about my life now and the people who are in my life and my friends, it all really revolves around wrestling. It's kind of funny. I mean, I think of it now. I'm 38 now. I started when I'm 19, so I'm literally at a point where right about half of my life has been spent in the pro wrestling business, which is wild to think about because some days it feels like a lifetime ago, but in other ways it's like, man, I can remember things from. I can't remember what I had for lunch today, but I can remember things that happened 15 years ago. Not so much matches. I forget matches. People tell me about a match, and big matches I remember, but just like the standard kind of like, random Friday night at the PAV, I probably don't remember. But there'll be conversations like the one, I referenced that we had, or situations, or traveling to Littleton, New Hampshire, or silly things like that you just remember and hold on to, and it's been a really cool experience. And this situation has taught me that I am totally nowhere near ready to give this up because I miss it so much right now.
Yeah. I was going to ask you that too. Like, are you getting withdrawals yet? Or have you had but it sounds like you have.
Oh yeah, very, very much so. I definitely, I mean, just missing going, traveling, and, I think about how long it took me to get to the point where, I'm getting flown places to get to this point in my career, and I'm like, this, a freaking virus is like putting it on pause right now, of all things. Like,
right.
I mean, there are silver linings. There are good things. Like, I'm pretty banged up, as I'm sure you know very well.
Yep.
My back is in really bad shape. My foot is in pretty rough shape. But this is, I'm trying to use this time now I'm seeing a chiropractor, starting yoga. So if we have 2 or 3 months off, while I have to get my ring shape back up,
yeah, right.
I won't have to, hopefully I'll be in a much better place physically as far as just like, being able to get out of bed and not be in pain sort of way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pain is stupid.
Yeah, pain sucks. That I don't miss. That I don't miss at all. But yeah, no, I mean, yeah, it's insane when you think about it because everything is just shut down. Like we said before, Disney World, all sports, everything. Going back to wrestling, now WrestleMania is coming up. Is it next week or is it? It's not this week. It's next week, right?
This is the last.
Okay. I guess it depends on when this episode drops, but I think it's we're recording on a Sunday. It's next weekend.
Next week. Okay, so a week from. Okay, got it. All right. They're doing it in front of no people. What do you think of that?
It's weird to me. I don't know why you wouldn't just postpone it. I guess I don't really quite understand that, but I mean, I'm sure there's very good reasons. I mean, in a way, I'm sure they really are trying to do a good thing and keep people, entertained and give them something. They're really the only entertainment product out there right now that's still producing new content, along with like AEW. I'm not going to criticize anybody. I don't think there's any in situations like this. There's no right or wrong. Like, nobody knows really what to do. Even the doctors, like you see well-respected doctors and experts, their opinions of this are all over the board. Nobody knows what to do.
Yeah.
So there is no right or wrong. But me personally, for me, I'm truly grateful that I work for a company, Ring of Honor, that has said, hey guys, stay home. They're not going to bring us down to, Ring of Honor has a great facility in Baltimore that they could certainly film new content from. But they've said stay at home, So I appreciate that. I'm grateful that while sometimes I'm ready to, I'm sick of looking at the same walls and sick of seeing the same three people that I all love dearly. I love them all dearly. Everybody needs their space, but no. And all kidding aside, I'm truly grateful that they're not asking me to get on airplanes and do those sorts of things. And I feel like there's a lot of, I don't know how much you guys keep up with it. I know you both kind of removed from the wrestling business, but there's a lot of crap out there about Ring of Honor, and there was a few months ago. But Ring of Honor does right by us all the time. So I can say that I'm truly grateful the way they've handled this situation.
We'll talk more about that crap later, off air.
Yeah.
We'll talk about when we start recording.
Yeah.
I mean, when I heard that they're still going through at WrestleMania, at first I was like, really? Like, everything else is closing down, but this is going to happen? And I remember they were, I think they were the first event that went on after 9/11 as well. I think it was like a SmackDown taping or something like that.
The show will go on.
Yeah, so I think that...
I mean, nothing for nothing. You got to figure Vince McMahon's probably getting some pretty good first-hand information based on who the President of the United States is.
I was thinking that too, and I figured that must have something to do with why they're going through with things too. I mean, we don't know, but you can speculate. But yeah, I thought that was weird that they were going to go through that and then have it in front of no fans. So I haven't, full disclosure, I haven't watched any of the shows at all for like the last couple months. So I haven't seen any of the empty arena shows that they've been putting on. So I have no idea. But we are going to watch WrestleMania. We decided we're going to actually watch WrestleMania. I was debating it.
I'm kind of disappointed.
And I'm kind of curious what they're going to do, how they're going to pull this off, how it's going to come off in front of no people.
Yeah. Well, I was sad because they were going to do it in Tampa and they were having this pirate theme. So obviously I was excited because I'm like, oh, pirates, and I was wondering if they were going to do anything with it. And now I'm like, probably not because it's not there anymore. So I was kind of bummed out.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see because you think of WrestleMania, you think of huge stadium, glitz and glamour, surprise appearances. You think of this grandiose presentation, but it's I don't know, it's weird. I mean, kudos to them for trying to put on something. I will say, and maybe it's because I'm in the wrestling business, and I mean, you both know, you've both performed in this business. You feed off of the live crowd. Whether it's 150 people in the Polish American Veterans Club or it's 70,000 people at a football stadium, you feed off the energy, you feed off the crowd. I mean, you can see it with the performers. They are naturally doing things to feed off the crowd just out of natural instinct, and there's no crowd. So I'm grateful that although I will say a lot of our early days on the indies probably would have prepared us well for empty arena matches.
That's true. That's very true. That's very. What's the least amount of people you ever worked in front of? Do you know the number offhand?
It's under 10.
Okay.
It's under 10. Yeah, it's like 7 or 8. The only paying fans were my wife, Steph. I don't even know that we were married yet, and her brother. and that's because I made them pay. Because there were literally no bands, and I made them pay. The rest of it was all just like a couple guys that brought their girlfriend or something.
Right.
It was awful. Yeah.
Tremendous. Were you gonna say?
No,
something?
I was gonna say because I am a listener of the WPAN, which has kind of on an extended hiatus, maybe. But I remember you actually talking about that somewhat recently. I thought it was. Or was it on another podcast that
maybe.
you and Jimmy were on? Okay. Truth, Justice, and the New England Pro Wrestling Way. That might have been the podcast, yes.
It might have been.
It's a lot to say. I have to process all the words so I don't mess it up when I talk.
There was another one that I main evented with Mike Bennett about, oh my God, this is 2003, 2004, somewhere in there, probably 2003-ish. It was like a Sunday afternoon. George Carroll ran the show against a Patriots game on a Sunday afternoon, and there was like 15 people there. So, you know, me and Mike Bennett really packed the house back then.
Well done. Well done. That's great.
Sometimes, you know, you gotta make do with what you have.
Yeah.
That's all you can do.
Yeah. I drove to West Virginia one time and wrestled in front of 3 people. In West Virginia. 3 people.
And they're small, but they were loud.
They were
right?
loud. They were there for everything.
It's so
And it was outdoors, and it was raining.
Oh no.
And they had like this slick vinyl type canvas. It wasn't a canvas, it was like a vinyl covering on it. I'm sure you've wrestled in something like that before.
Yep. Yeah.
And you know how slippery those get when, you know, guys sweat and baby oil and whatever gets on there. Well, it was raining. And yeah, it was fun. So yeah, that's probably my least amount of people in a crowd story.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about when I used to go to shows and bands would play and there was like nobody there. Kind of probably equating to the same. Because when I joined Chaotic, shows were pretty, like, there's always a good amount of people at the shows.
Yeah, I feel like Chaotic, I mean, for the last, as long as I've been there, right now, even with the change in ownership, and I feel like it's always been that 150, 200 people type of thing, consistently, always.
Yeah.
You know, a couple outliers here and there, but they've drawn a consistent crowd for, you know, close to 20 years now.
So yeah, I can't speak to being at a show that had few people.
There's nothing like it.
I was definitely part of one. Jamie, there was a this is like in like a January, February type of time. There was a blizzard. Jamie still decided to run the show. I wrestled. It was a big build up to me versus John Walters. So I get my big match with Hurricane John Walters, which at the time I was very excited about. I was very young, and John was in Ring of Honor, cutting his teeth. You know, very popular guy and just a fantastic worker. And there's probably like 15, 20 people there because we ran in a blizzard, and nobody's going to drive out in a blizzard to see independent wrestling. So.
Right.
Aww.
Tremendous. Yeah. Yeah, oh, go ahead.
No, you
Oh, I
go.
thought you were okay. Yeah, it's really just, yeah, anyway, well, we'll move on from that. But yeah, so I guess that's next week. And it's 2 days. It's not 1 day, right? They're doing 2 days of this?
Yeah, I think it's a great move. I mean, the one thing that's kind of cool, I guess, you know, like my son really likes wrestling. My daughter couldn't care less. But I mean, with having 2 days, with the circumstances, this will be the first time, you know, as a big wrestling fan, I've seen every WrestleMania, you know, so my entire, you know, every one they've had, I've watched, and probably all but the first 2 I watched live. So it'll be cool to sit down with him for the first time together and do like a father-son thing of us watching, you know, WrestleMania together. I mean, no matter what wrestling company you work for, I don't know, maybe I'm not supposed to talk about, you know, my love of it, but you know, something, I mean, pretty cool, you know, sit down and watch WrestleMania with him for the first time. And he's only 4. He'll never remember it. I'm sure I will.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's
Aww.
awesome.
That's
Yeah.
so nice.
Yeah.
Now let's change gears a little bit.
Okay, please.
So Alex and I were talking before we started this conversation, and we want to know, what are your thoughts on aliens?
It's you know, it's funny. I've had actually a pretty in-depth conversation with Al before. about this. We talked about UFOs. I don't know if you remember this conversation.
No.
But I honestly don't know. I mean, here's the thing. I think there's a lot of human arrogance. So we think of aliens, we think of things in our image. We think of upright walking. Maybe you give them a different shaped head and things like that, but largely they have 4 limbs. They walk, they communicate through a mouth, they have mouth. And if you think about it, an alien could be a single-celled organism. I mean, if it came from another planet and it's living, that's an alien. I think, when you think of the vastness of the universe, which, by the way, is the most terrifying thing ever, is there has to be something else out there. There has to be, we know of inhabitable planets. We just always look for things that are in our image. So I think it's maybe there's nothing like that, because maybe there's no ecosystem like ours. Like that's entirely possible. But you don't know what these things look like. I mean, we also are on a planet that the dinosaurs ruled at one point. And we
allegedly.
Is that, is that more than just like a religious thing?
Yeah.
The allegedly part?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Because it's saying that the dinosaurs were a made-up thing. And when was it? What, like...
Mid-1800s.
Mid-1800s.
Yeah.
Was it like the English royalty?
It was, royalty made up the dinosaurs. I forget the scholar, but it was some scholar that made up the whole thing. And it was essentially just to back up the Darwinian theory of evolution.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I like the theory that we're aliens. That
yes.
Like whatever one the meteorite or whatever that crashed, maybe we were some single cell organisms on that, and then we've taken over the planet. I like that theory.
I like that theory too.
Yeah, and there's also a theory that the true God are actually aliens. And they came to the earth and they bred with humans. So there is an alien-human crossbred going on, and that's what we are.
That's what we are.
Like we're created from aliens.
I haven't heard that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's all kinds of things like that.
Is that the theory that we are a slave race that was put here to mine gold?
That's one of them. There's different ones, but there's all different ones. Right. There's ones that they created us. Like, they created the dinosaurs, and they created these things, and then, like, they wiped them out when it wasn't going well. But that they created humans.
Aliens created dinosaurs? I've never heard that one.
Yep, that was one of them. And that they created humans with our DNA, and then they decided to put use their own DNA in with our DNA, too. So there's all these different theories.
All right, this stuff is all. I mean, it's funny. One of the car rides we had, a bunch of the guys from Ring of Honor, Delirious, the Bruiser. I'm trying to think who else is in this car ride. Mandy Leone. There's a few of us, and the entire ride we were driving. Jesus, it was somewhere in the Midwest. We were driving from one Midwest. This was like last year. And it was like a 4.5-hour ride. And the entire time was just like conspiracy theory talk and things of this nature. And I definitely dabble. I definitely like to read about it. I like reading about the lizard people. And the one that blew my mind that came up there, and I'm sure you guys know it well, is like the Denver airport is some sort of like weird portal to like another dimension or something, and the weird construction projects and the horse and.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff with the Denver airport. A lot of weird stuff.
Why Denver? That was my question. Why Denver? Of all places,
but
why
think
Denver,
about
Colorado?
Because what's Colorado have? It has mountains. Maybe they're building things in the mountains and underground.
I don't know. My sister went through there and took a bunch of pictures. And, I mean, you can find all these pictures online for the most part, but she just said it was weird. Just looking around, because she's not really into any of that kind of stuff, but she was seeing all this, so she starts taking pictures, and she sent them to me. I'm like, you know what that is? Do you know what that is? Do you know what that symbolizes? Do you know? And she's like, what? What's going on? It's just weird.
It's like weird murals and stuff.
Yeah, just completely out of place.
Murals,
just weird stuff like that. So
yeah, there's a lot of weird out there.
There is.
What is the weirdest?
I put you guys I put it on my Twitter recently. I think you gave me a recommendation, Al. But my favorite one, the one that I think of all the conspiracy theories that I've ever looked at, read into, the one that seems most plausible to me is the Paul McCartney being replaced.
We were just talking about that this morning.
Yeah, we were just
talking about that this morning.
Yeah, like
There's so much evidence on that one.
There is. That's the thing. That's why.
When this quarantine is lifted, you need to come over here and sit down in person so we can have this discussion.
I'm telling you, yeah. I'm not a Beatles fan. I could care less about the Beatles. Whatever. Never liked them. Never cared. Then I found out about this. Paul McCartney is not really Paul McCartney anymore. He's been replaced. And all of a sudden I'm like, whoa, mind completely blown. And I started looking into it, and yeah, there's way too much evidence that this guy that's out there right now saying he's Paul McCartney is not Paul McCartney.
And I grew up listening to the Beatles, and I love the Beatles since I was a kid. So when I heard that, I was like, it was weird because I've heard it before, but I don't think it really clicked in. Because when you're a kid, things don't always click in once you're an adult and you get more things. But then I was like, wow, I want to figure this out. And then you had mentioned Billy Shears, and I was like,
Shears.
I know that name. How do I know that name? And then I'm like, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, they introduced him. So I'm like, is that when they introduced him? Because Paul was dead?
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
Supposedly, right? That's the time where they replaced Paul, right?
Yeah.
And
Sorry, I'm getting way too excited.
He wrote a book, The Memoirs of Billy Shears. Well, he goes over the entire thing. He just lays it out for people. Just here you go.
Yeah, that's the book you recommended to me.
Yes.
I want to get this and read it because of all the ones I've ever looked into, this is the one to me. I'm like, this is totally possible. This is this may be real. And you makes you wonder. You make almost hope. Maybe this guy just comes out one day and says, "Hey, that totally happened." How wild would that
be? Brian, they would kill him before they let that happen. Come on.
But that's why he wrote the book, because he wants to get it out. Because essentially, his feeling, because he didn't write it. He told it to somebody, so he had a co-writer, and the guy that helped him write the book said that he's tired of living his life as somebody else and people not recognizing him for all the work he did, so he wants it to come out. He wants his story to come out. And he actually got clearance from the higher-ups, the shot callers of the world, whoever is behind all this stuff, to go ahead and put out his story. Now,
what would be the difference at this point?
But that's the thing.
Exactly.
Who cares? At this point, pretty much all the players are dead.
But no, you know what you say?
Except for
Who
him.
cares? The public, because they would have been lied to this whole time.
But
and then it
do
opens
they?
up other doors for conspiracies. What else have you lied to us about?
But that's what I'm saying. That's why, with the whole Paul McCartney thing, if this is legit, which I think it is, and it comes out, now, it's like what you said, people are going to now go, okay, they were able to pull this off for this many years with this big a thing. What else have they been lying to us about? What else is maybe not as it appears to be? And that's why I always look at everything skeptically. If it's on TV or I watched a movie or whatever, always skeptical. I don't care who's saying it or what's saying it. I'm always skeptical. I call into question everything I've ever been taught or learned in my life now, because I just feel like, not just the Paul McCartney thing, but just so much stuff has come out that it's not what we were told.
Yeah.
The moon landing. For real. Come on. Does anybody really believe we went to the moon? Now?
I believe that. I believe we landed.
You still believe we went to the moon?
I don't know what to think. I know we did a whole episode on it.
Come on.
But, I don't know. I want to believe that we did, because then I wonder, were there alien bases and maybe they found something there, and that's why we've never gone back?
Whatever.
Oh, look at this stain.
Whatever.
So, you've traveled a lot with wrestling. Have you ever been anywhere that was haunted or seen something really weird or creepy that you couldn't quite explain while you were maybe driving or staying somewhere?
I never have in my wrestling travels. I would say the weirdest thing I ever experienced, it happened when I was a kid. And to this day, I still don't know, I still don't understand. I don't know what happened. I don't know if it was somebody trying to mess with me. It would have had to been multiple people trying to mess with me. I was in my bedroom. I was probably 11 or 12 years old. I had windows on either side of the room, but far enough where, somebody had to run around the house to either side of them. And there was just, super bright light that lit up my room from one and then the other, and then one and then the other, and then one and then the other. And this happened for, 15 minutes, I would say. And I ran upstairs, like I was paralyzed with fear while it was going on. And then after it happened, I ran upstairs, I'm telling my parents, and they're both in bed, and I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, go back to bed, I'm sure it was just a dream. That's probably the weirdest thing I've ever experienced in my life. I will say I'm skeptical of a lot of those things. I'm skeptical, but cautious. I don't want to upset, if stuff like this does exist, I don't want to upset it. I don't want to piss anybody off. I live in a 100-year-old house now, so if there's something here, I don't want to piss it off.
Well, I'll come by and I'll come do a cleansing. I'll take care of it. I'll help you out if anything happens.
You're going to be like the little old woman in Poltergeist?
Yes! This house is clean. Yeah.
So they wanted to drag me in Vegas to Zach Baggins, I think his name is.
Yeah.
He has a museum. He has like some sort of haunted museum in Vegas. And the part of the talk of the conspiracy theory car ride I talked about was going to that. And I'm like, there's no way. It's just, they're like, well, you don't believe. I'm like, I still am not going to mess with stuff. Like, I'm just not going to mess with it. Because I'll piss something off. Something will follow me home.
And that's all you need, right?
Hey, you know what? Maybe stuff exists. Maybe it doesn't. It's one of those things, honestly. It's like, I don't know that I want to know. For sure. Because either if this type of ghosts and spirits and things don't exist, then maybe death is just it. There is nothing else. But then if they do exist, I'm just going to live in constant fear and paranoia that something is out there. And I don't know which is worse.
You're like, I don't believe in ghosts, but just in case they are real, I have nothing but respect for you guys. Just don't want to piss you off. But I don't believe in you, but I respect you. Yeah, that's fine.
That's a great take.
Yes.
It's a great attitude.
Please don't, like I'm not going to be playing with Ouija boards. I'm not going to be, doing things that potentially anger anything that might be able to just,
Well, Ouija boards don't necessarily anger the spirits. It's you're opening a door to let spirits come in, and you got to know how to get them to go back to where they came from. That's where the problems come from.
Now, you have a Ouija board story.
Yeah, we talked about it in a previous episode.
Well, I think...
Because I know Milonas has listened to all of our episodes.
Why don't just quickly retell that Ouija board story so Brian can hear it, and then he'll know that how he feels about not messing with Ouija boards is
it's
justified.
Smart, yeah.
It's very smart. Go ahead, tell.
When I was a kid, I played with Ouija boards, and I used to talk to spirits that I thought it was spirits I was talking to. So one day a friend of mine came over and we're using the Ouija board and I decide, let's get the doll. Now this is a doll that my meme had blessed allegedly by the Virgin Mary in Yugoslavia. It's like this town where I guess the Virgin Mary just constantly appeared, and so they'd have her like bless items and touch these items where she appeared. So my meme got me this little doll from there. So I get the doll, and we're using the Ouija board, and we were like just being silly and messing around. And where we were in our basement, it's a finished basement, and there was sliding mirror doors for the closet. And I look, and I see that the doll, if you look like in the mirror, was like her face was like red and like it looked like smoke or steam was coming up. So like we're holding the doll, and we're getting closer to the mirror, and like, if you look at her, she looked fine. But if you looked in the mirror, her face, it was like this, like when a person's face gets red, it's not actually like red, but it's like that dark pink color.
Right, yeah.
And it was like smoke or steam, something coming from her. And it freaked us out. So I ran upstairs, I threw her in my closet, and like I never took her out again. Because I was so freaked out.
That's why you don't mess with stuff like
Exactly.
this.
And lesson learned.
You don't understand.
Lesson learned.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, I never messed with Ouija boards. Never did.
My mom was a firm believer in like all this stuff, and she was like, she instilled the fear of God in me when it came to like Ouija boards and things like that. She was, all my family really for the most part, like, I was talking to my aunt, and just for the purpose of the story, not for everybody to go, both my parents have passed away, so I just had like a dream. This was probably like, I don't know, a year and a half ago. Just had a dream. I must have been thinking about my mom or something, and I just had this dream where my mom was playing with my daughter, like on a swing set or something, and might have been a couple of years ago. And I'm telling my aunt about it. I was like, it was weird. It was a very vivid dream. And I don't remember dreams a lot for whatever reason. I'm one of those people that I just don't remember my dreams a lot. But this one was very vivid. And she's like, oh, did you see her face? I was like, well, yeah, we were like talking and stuff. And she is just convinced, like, my mother came to visit me, and that's what this was.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. I'm like, his mom came because she wanted to see her granddaughter. And did you ever ask your daughter if she had a dream like that?
No, I never have. I mean, thankfully we never had like the weird like kid talking to the corner either type stuff. Thankfully, like.
Yeah, that does happen.
Yeah. I don't want to. Again,
it does happen.
I don't want to mess with that stuff, man. I don't want to mess with that stuff.
That's okay. You don't. Yeah, that's smart.
Yeah.
I figure out. I'll either find out or I won't someday.
I think we're all gonna find out or we won't, unless we're Walt Disney and we are cryogenically frozen. But
Right. Yeah.
Okay, now what about Bigfoot?
Bigfoot.
So,
sure.
This one is interesting. So I've learned so much about Bigfoot. I always think Bigfoot, like in the woods of the Pacific Northwest type of thing, which there's tons of. When I went to Portland last year, like just the Bigfoot, like memorabilia is like, or merchandise is just like everywhere, and like in the airport and all that, and they're just trying to capitalize on it. But I think it's interesting. I found out recently that I forget the name of this farm or ranch or something like that. Skinwalker Ranch.
Skinwalker Ranch, yeah.
But I guess some of it's based on that. But talking about like Bigfoot as potentially like something that doesn't belong in our dimension, and the reason why it's so hard to find is because it only appears for short periods of time, and it's only in certain places where there's a weird cross-dimensional portal type thing. Like, fascinating, because I know it's just not like, oh no, it's just this animal that maybe it's just there's only a few left. Or I always thought Bigfoot existed in some sense, but that was fascinating to me. That was a wormhole I slipped down.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's. I think we had this talk recently.
Yeah.
I think Bigfoot, same as you. I think it's something that exists, but it doesn't exist here. It's got to be something that's going in and out of dimensions, because we'd have found one by now. And you get tracks, but you don't get like tracks that go on for miles. You get tracks.
They just stop.
That just stop.
Yeah.
So they're either being faked, or if it's real, it's got to be going in and out of our existence, or our ethereal plane, I guess.
Yeah, they're saying they don't even know it. They don't even realize, the creature doesn't even realize it. It's just kind of happening. And I will say, I love the whole like multiverse theory. Like, how many people even realize that there's, you think of it because you think of the multiverse, you think of Marvel movies, but
right.
there's actually a multiverse like theory, which to me is wild. Like to me, there's a version of, I don't think there's a version of the universe where we didn't just main event Cold Fury 10 now, we main evented a WrestleMania.
Right, yeah, hey, there you go. Absolutely.
Well, think about the different multiverses and then throw time travel into that, and how many other like multiverses it creates if that were to happen. So it just goes on and on and on.
Time travel still
Back
something.
to the Future theory of time better,
Yeah, see, I wish it existed like that, but when because we've done a couple episodes on time travel, and my feeling is that time travel does not exist because time is not a tangible thing. We think of time and we look at our clocks or our watches or whatever, but how can you travel through something or on something that you can't define? You can't, you know what I mean? Like, you could travel on the road, you could travel in the air, but how are you going to travel through time? Because
what is it?
What is it? Like, what is time exactly? You know what I mean? So
yeah,
time
means something to human beings. Time, you know, doesn't, like, the concept of time is something I think unique to human beings. Like, I think animals, they know like time of the day sort of thing, but they're not looking at a calendar. They're not looking at
Exactly.
I mean, we've literally created a situation for ourselves as human beings where you can almost like count down your existence. Yeah, I mean, the average life expectancy is 74 years. I'm 38. Roughly, I'm halfway through here.
Right? Yeah, that's true. It's true.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. The multiverse theory, I like that. I dig it. I think it's probably real. Probably. I say everything probably. I never say anything's absolute because I don't know. But the time travel thing, I don't know. I don't think that would work. I just don't, because how you can travel through it? Like, what are you traveling through?
I don't know. So that's why maybe you're
heard
traveling.
of there's some Swedish scientist who was like messing with black holes and like restarted the universe.
Oh, you're talking about CERN. You're talking about CERN. You're talking about it's CERN. It's the Large Hadron Collider where they yeah. Oh yeah.
Like he ended the entire universe and recreated like the Big Bang and restarted time, which is like some of the like the
Mandela effect.
People point to as like the election of like Donald Trump as like proof like something has changed and something has gone to. There's also like the Mandela effect stuff, but there's also the worst. You ever heard of the worst simulation? Like where a bitch was essentially a video game.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like, there's all sorts of wild stuff.
So I was just talking about it with our friend Gorman. He was here last weekend, and I was saying that there are theories. Some people believe that this is the Matrix because everyone's their own god, and essentially, like, you're in control. Like, when you're in it, you're kind of like in 3D. You're like that person in the game, but once you start realizing things and you start growing and ascending, you start kind of getting out of the game. You can still watch the game, but you're not like stuck like in your person anymore. You kind of are like, oh, I get this more, and you kind of get a bigger picture of everything. So that is another theory.
That's wild.
Yeah.
I know, like, so recently, because the last few years have been pretty wild. Again, when you think about something as random as Donald Trump being elected president, and that's something. It's a stupid thing, but like the Super Bowl that the Patriots were down 28-3. And then they won, like that. People have pointed to that as like some sort of evidence of doing things like this. Like it's just all these wild occurrences to right now, what's going on with the pandemic or whatever. Mm-hmm. Which is a conspiracy theory in itself because literally in every 20s there's been some crazy thing like this.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Almost like it was
planned. What the hell is going on?
Almost like this shit was planned in advance or something. Weird.
Maybe.
Like all these. I always saw there was a thing. I didn't see the movie, but I think it's called Contagion. Sorry.
Yeah, we didn't see it.
I didn't see it, but I saw like a clip of it roaming around, floating around on the internet, and it was essentially word for word something that was seen in that movie was like something that was basically copied and re-said on news broadcasts, which I thought was kind of strange. Like it was like word for word, like a 2-minute clip from the movie they were saying on like the news. I don't know what network, but yeah, I thought that was kind of weird. Like what is going on?
Yeah, I didn't see that. That is weird.
Yeah, I'll try to find it and show it to you later. But yeah, it was pretty interesting. It was the guy. Whoever it was that was in the movie was actually a newscaster now, like, is really a newscaster. So he must have been cast in the movie because he's a newscaster, so I don't know. But essentially he was doing the same exact dialogue from the movie, reporting on the current situation that's going on. So I thought that was kind of strange.
Stuff like that freaks me out.
Oh, yeah, big time. But again, if you go... Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, you kind of want to believe that everything's on the up and up in life, and there's nothing like nefarious going on. You're just existing, and things are normal. When things feel, it's. I think weirdly enough, I think about, like lines from the Joker and The Dark Knight, and he talks about like, even if something bad happens, if it was planned and people expected it, it's fine. Nobody panics. But when something chaotic happens, something out of the ordinary, something that wasn't supposed to happen happens, people just go crazy, lose their minds. Because even if something horrific happens and you expected it and it was all part of the plan, it feels normal. It feels, it feels... we've gotten to a point in life where we normalize, like, young children dying from, like, horrific cancers that used to only impact really older people, but we've just accepted those things now, and they're just so. But now this pandemic comes up, and it's throwing everything out of whack, and people are losing their minds. They're, for some inexplicable reason, buying copious amounts of toilet paper.
You go to the store, there's no toilet paper, there's no paper towels. It's like, okay, I mean, we can use gift bags.
Yeah. There's no shortage of anything. I mean, all the shelves being empty is people hoarding stuff, people going crazy, people. We're not in any danger of being short on food or supplies or water or any of these things. I mean, if this went on for a few years, we might.
Yeah.
But, so all of this is all just artificially created panic, when in reality, just listen to the good sound advice of stay home, limit your interactions, settle down. Things will get back to normal eventually. But instead it's, what I heard? Go to the store, buy 17 years worth of supplies, and go crazy.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny, too, I was talking about that this whole thing with my brother the other day, and I was telling him how gun sales are like at an all-time high right now. And I think it's because people are just realizing, hey, the government's supposed to be keeping tabs on everything, taking care of us, and I think more and more people are starting to realize the government isn't going to do shit for you. In something like this, what are they going to do? What are they going to do? It's every man for himself. So people are going out, and people that maybe were anti-gun or not so keen on owning a gun, they're buying them up. Like their guns are sold out everywhere. It's
and
record ammo. Yeah, it's record gun sales everywhere. So people, I think, are starting to realize. I need to be able to care for myself and take care of myself and my family and watch out for my own home, because I don't care how anti-gun you are at 3 a.m. if your house is getting broken into by somebody and you're waiting for the police to show up. You can be
especially right now where some cities they're not enforcing certain crimes, and this stuff is wild. I mean, our government knew about this months ago, did nothing about it. As a matter of fact, some senators sold off their stock and made huge profits.
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
I mean, that information's out there, but that gets swept under the rug so they can talk about scary death tolls and things like that. It's just like it's people. But if you talk about this stuff, you talk about the fear mongering. It's like, well, you're not taking this seriously. It's like, no, I'm taking it very seriously. What I'm not taking seriously is what the news media is trying to do, which is get everybody all riled up, which is trying to drive people to the stores and things like that, and so they can get a stupid news camera out there, so they can shoot the story, so they can talk about the panic. Because if people weren't out in the streets panicking right now, what the hell are they reporting on? Like, they have nothing to film. They have nothing to shoot.
Thank you.
News media is a business. It drives ratings.
Yep.
It's the most whether you're left, right, in the middle, blue, red, whatever you believe. The news is entertainment, and we stopped getting the news once news became entertainment.
Yeah. When was that? 2014 that it was signed into law that news can now be propagandized.
I forget what year.
Yeah, I think it was 2013 or 2014. I know President Obama is the one that signed it into law that propaganda can be used on the American people now legally. So that's pretty much what you've been seeing since then.
Yeah.
The funny thing is it plays into conspiracy theories too, because I think about like the school shooting in Connecticut, where a lot of the conspiracy theory around that is based on some early reports that were just inaccurate, and all it really was it was a game of telephone. Uncredible source told a news reporter who didn't fact check anything and just put the information out there.
Yeah.
Like there's no fact checking. It's more important to be first than it is to be right. And then there's no accountability for a retraction to say, hey, we were wrong on this. It's just we'll keep moving along. Nothing to see here.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think that's why you're seeing the rise of more independent type journalists and like YouTube journalists and things like that, because it's people that are actually going out and going into their community and getting news right from, the government source or the representative or the person that was involved in the accident or the person that was the victim of a crime, instead of going and relying on a news media outlet or whatever to give you their version of it. People are actually going out now and trying to get real news. And I think the majority of people now are starting to see through what the news on TV is. And they're starting to look at other sources for getting facts and getting data and things like that. I mean, because like news now, it's like you said, it's a race to be first, not a race to be right. Doesn't matter if you're right or wrong. It's did I get it first? Was I the first one to report it? And no retraction, like you said. You never see a retraction or hear that.
No. Journalists wildly, throw out a wildly irresponsible report, and they just swept under the rug. There's no accountability. They didn't lose their job because they didn't do their job properly. It's just move along. And I mean, the whole CNN versus Fox News versus this, and one's Republican, the other's Democrat. Well, hey, everybody needs an antagonist. So that's why does Fox News exist in the vein that it does? Because CNN exists in the vein that it does. And if they both reported the same way, neither they'd be the same thing, and there'd be no need for two of them. You'd only need one. So I mean, it's Then the sad thing is, there's so many people who just look at it and they just, whatever they say, it's just like, oh, and they just take it in, or the people get their news from memes and things like that. We just have this world where it's just like, everybody's fueled by misinformation, and, and I'm not trying to sit here, and, say what's right, what's wrong, you should believe in this, you should believe in that, but everybody should formulate their own sets of beliefs and not do it based on.
Well, I read on Facebook that this is this, so it's got to be real, right?
I read this meme that is completely false, not an ounce of truth on it, but it's got to be true because it's on the internet.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. No. Absolutely.
Yep.
All right, I didn't mean to go off on a tangent there.
No, we're just like, you get it!
You
get it!
Exactly.
The government and media and things like that really, really fire me up, especially in instances like, like this, where you get so many people that just, I'm a big proponent of when the government's trying to distract us with something, start to wonder what they're doing, look at this stimulus bill that's passed and all the crap that they tack onto it, and nobody talks about that, but then they talk about people's voting records, and, this guy voted against this, or this lady voted against that, and it's like, well, yeah, maybe they voted against healthcare, but it was because there were 55 other things that they tacked on there for their special interest groups. But it's a game. If you want to go on conspiracy theory, now that's a conspiracy theory. The entire government in itself.
Dude, I say shut it all down. You shut the country down. You want to shut that down? Shut the government down. Get rid of it.
Yeah.
It's done no good. Just let people go about their business. I guarantee you it won't happen. But if it did happen, within 4 or 5 months, we'd have this whole thing figured out. The economy would be roaring. Business would be booming. People would have jobs. People would have a purpose. People would have things to do. You put the government into the equation of anything, and they just fuck it up. Excuse my language.
Politician was never intended to be a career. When you look at the writing of the Constitution, it was supposed to be people like us. We'd run for a House seat or a Senate seat as a representative of the community that we are from, because we understand the needs and the troubles and the problems that face our community, and we go as a voice and act as that voice for our community. Now it's a career. Now it's somebody wants to be a career politician. They move to districts that they view vulnerable, that they can win. They're not actually from there. There's no term limit. The rate of an incumbent winning their seat back is like something like 95%. So once you get in, you're there as long as you freaking want. It's the worst.
So it sounds like what I'm feeling is maybe you should run for office.
I ran for Chaotic Wrestling Champion at one point.
That's right, you did. No, I think at least New Hampshire would be a better place with Brian Milonas taking care of us.
Impassioned for some people's likings, it's funny, how you hear me now. This is me, all the time. So I go into, I have a corporate job that I go into, and this is how I speak when I get fired up about something, and I've been told that it occasionally puts people off.
Well, we find it refreshing, and we appreciate it. You're welcome.
Yeah, we like it. We're cool with it.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. Do you got anything else you want to add? I mean, we've gone about an hour. We can keep rocking and rolling if you want to. I'll leave it up to you, my friend.
I'm good. Hey, the kids are out. This is fun to have social interaction with people.
Yeah, this is the new social interaction.
The new adulting.
Yes. All I'm missing is a nice cold beer here. I'm sipping my water.
Oh,
there you go.
I was gonna say, do we have any beer? But it wouldn't do you any
It
good.
wouldn't do him any good.
It would not.
But
It would not.
speaking of things, we will be sending you a nice Homewrecker podcast mug for being a guest on our show. And I think that I need to put into it also a bag of mini eggs for you.
Oh, I would greatly appreciate that. I certainly love mini eggs, and Michael's not going to share. That's really what the podcast broke up over, you know.
Well, I sent 5 pounds of mini eggs to you guys, and I mean, I asked where should I send it, and Michael gave me his address, so that's what I used, and I
didn't get any of that stash. I mean,
no,
that's crazy.
None. Wow. None. Never brought me even one of them. That's my profit for you.
I'll take care of you. I'll send you some.
You know, I mean, the truth of it is, Fury has 2 businesses. His wife is busy. Michael has a kid now. All of us are just in very different spots in life than we were when we started the podcast. So it was just getting to a point where it's harder and harder to find time to record. We also did 200 episodes, so it gets hard to what the hell are we going to come up with? And some of that's my fault because I don't feel comfortable talking and critiquing current wrestling product for a number of reasons.
Sure.
But mainly because it's just it's inappropriate for me working for a major company to criticize other products or criticize my friends publicly. Or if I do have something to say, I should say it to them in private and not make it satire on my podcast.
Yeah.
So that limited our subjects to talk about, and really it was a planning and just a timing thing. It was just really hard, but then the whole world's gone upside down, and we all have nothing but time on our hands now. So,
Well, if you ever want to talk about conspiracies or ghosts or aliens or anything like that, you're always welcome here.
Of course.
I love it's funny. I wouldn't consider myself a conspiracy theorist, but I love reading them. I think they're fascinating because what makes a good conspiracy theory is there's so much rooted in fact. There are things that that's what makes it plausible, and that's sometimes what scares the bejesus out of you when you're just that might totally be real. I don't know if it's true, but it's entirely possible that it is.
Yeah, that's it, and I think because I've been into this stuff since I was a teenager. I mean, I had to be 12 or 13 when I first started getting into actual conspiracy theories, but I was always into UFOs and Bigfoot and the Loch Ness Monster and that kind of stuff ever since I was in grade school. So I've always been into this stuff, but that's the thing that I think has been most, and that may also be why I was kind of attracted to wrestling too, because it's something that's presented, well, not anymore, but it was at a time presented as something that was real, but it wasn't. And I don't know, for whatever reason, it's my brain. I love that kind of stuff. I love to try to find out what's really real and what's really going on with stuff, So, yeah, I've always been into this kind of stuff. But I know that a lot of it's obviously just hogwash. It's not real.
Yeah.
But there are those certain ones where you go, whoa, wait a minute. There's actually a lot to this. This could be like the Paul McCartney one, which is like...
JFK assassination is another one, which is just our government freaking killed the president of the United States. This happened. That's another one where you read the physical evidence again in 1967.
I think
get shot. I don't remember the exact
he died in 63, but
63. So at that point, you don't have the technology that they have today.
Yeah.
So everybody just thinks, oh, here's this random dude in a clock tower or wherever he was that shot long range and blew the head off of the president. And then you start to look at the physical evidence. And even then they had it figured out a little bit. But now, especially with all the technology and things we understand now, there's no way, Oswald killed JFK. There's just no possible way.
Right. Agreed. And I know that they released a lot of the documents related to the case, a lot of the classified stuff,
yeah.
but it was nothing of any consequence. There was nothing groundbreaking or anything in there, and there's still parts of those files that are sealed, that they sealed for another 50 years. So it's what are they hiding? What are they hiding? They're waiting for everybody and their ancestors to be dead before we find out the truth?
So I think it's important to teach our kids to care about it, and then teach your grandkids to care about it.
I guess.
I think one funny observation, and we start to wrap up if you'd like, but one funny observation I saw recently, it was like a meme or something. It was like, well, we know aliens don't exist because if they did, Donald Trump would have told us by now.
That's awesome. That's tremendous.
But are there not security clearances higher than the President of the United States, right?
Oh, of course there are. Yeah, of course. I mean, and that's the thing too. I mean, this is getting into a whole other conspiracy, but the President of the United States really being in charge of everything. Come on, like the guy's there for 4, maybe 8 years tops. That's it. So obviously, there's going to be people above him that call the shots. That he's essentially a figurehead, if you really think about it. I mean, yes, of course, he does have some power, but anything of great consequence, you would think there's got to be somebody above him because he's not there forever. He's not there long term. I mean, there's people that are there's people that can make the argument that there are some bureaucratic positions like office jobs and clerical positions, things like that, that actually may have a little bit more say in what goes on with policy and stuff like that than the president does because they're there for essentially 20, 30 years. It's their career. Whereas this guy's there for a couple,
Yeah, Congress is more. I mean, just think of like, I just instead I was in school, I just took a politics course and I was talking about the Constitution. And Congress is the most powerful, part of our entire government. Again, there's no term limits. These people are there for life.
And how do they make millions doing that, I wonder? Living off how do they make millions, I wonder, like earning from the taxpayers' dollars that are given to them? How do they must be really good at saving and investing, I guess.
I think we just found out when those senators sold all their stock. I think we just found out.
Yes.
Well, why do some of these people talk about, you look at the Democratic primary and people talk about, why are these people who have no chance, why are they staying in? Why are they staying in so long and things like that? Well, it's because you increase your visibility to the public. So in reality, even if you think you have no chance, but you can get on the debates, you can get on the national stage, you can showcase yourself. Look at the Pete Buttigieg, the mayor of like South Bend, Indiana, runs for president. All of a sudden, he's a key political figure in the Democratic Party. And 8 months ago, he's the mayor of South Bend, Indiana. When you think about the people's champion, Bernie Sanders, all these people love Bernie Sanders. He was a guy who went from 4 years ago, he ran for president. His net worth was like $500,000. Now he's worth like $3 million. Why do people do this? Because even if you lose, you've increased your visibility. People are going to pay you to make speeches. People are going to pay you to write books. People are going to tell you to do those sorts of things. It's a business. Government is a business.
I was going to say, or if you're in Bernie's case, Hillary Clinton are going to pay you to drop out of the race.
Well, it was either drop out or be murdered by her.
True, get suicided, so I take the money.
Whoa!
hey,
That's none of my business.
Well, Epstein didn't kill himself, right? Another conspiracy.
Another one.
That was one. See, this is where you have to pick and choose if you're, these high-profile people. Jeffrey Epstein connected to politicians and actors and all these very powerful, very rich people who he has very deep, dark secrets on. You knew once this dude's going into general population, come on. This dude's going to end up dead. He's not making it to trial. You knew that. And then that happens, he committed suicide. Come on. Did he now?
Okay.
Did he?
Well,
sure.
We got to ask now.
Sure he did.
So,
okay.
There are thoughts that certain celebrities are using their social media accounts to communicate with each other secretly. Have you heard about any of this?
I haven't heard this, no.
I can't speak to it as far as what's going on, but there's a number of, I guess, celebrity blue checkmark accounts, actors, politicians, whatever. The banner on their Twitter accounts has gone from whatever their background was to a solid color. Different colors, but just blank with just and the speculation is that they're secretly communicating with each other about something. We don't know what,
not just that, but there's theories about certain things they're saying that don't quite make any sense because it's code.
I don't want to get into any of that though. Because that's too far a rabbit hole to go down.
Okay, but I'm just going to say, if he heard about it. So the whole Madonna thing, she was doing the Vogue but she was like changing the words around. She was in her bathroom, like singing into her hairbrush. Did you see that video on Twitter?
I have not.
So it's Madonna. So Madonna is, I guess, in her bathroom, and somebody's like filming her, and she's singing Vogue, but she's changing the words. And she's like saying something about like, let's go get some fried fish. There's no more pasta, and we got to get fried fish. And if you look at all the comments, they're talking about how with all these kind of conspiracy type entertainer groups, something, I guess, was it like pasta was like little boys and fried fish meant something else. So there's no more little boys for us, so we're going to go do this. So they're implicating like pedophilia rings and...
That's what I said. I didn't want to go down this rabbit hole.
I know, but I just want to see, like, have you heard of that at all?
I knew the Jeffrey Epstein connection to, like, that private island and sex trafficking and things of that nature. Again, this was not a good person, and he was connected to a lot of very, very high-profile people. When you're rich and you're powerful, there are certain things that all of a sudden just get opened up to you. I don't know if I believe in things like the Illuminati or anything like that, but I do believe that there is a large network of wealthy people out there that know how to acquire anything that they may desire, whether it's legal, illegal. I think there is, I think there are things that play like that, very the underbelly kind of society. Again, when you're rich and powerful, you can kind of we live in a world and a society where we elevate these people, and they have wealth and power, and it's so weird that you see these people on TV. To a much, and I'm not saying I'm a celebrity, but to a much lesser extent, there are people who interact with me online, and they just assume I'm a good person. They don't know me. I'll have like a fan reach out to me or something, and it's like, and they're just assuming I'm like this great person or whatever. I like to think I'm a pretty good person.
I was gonna say, but you're a great person. You're a wonderful person.
But for all of us, all of us put these people on a pedestal, So when they fall, when you think of like people like Bill Cosby or things like that, like people like that, when they fall, it's like this shocking thing, and it's just like, well, I really had no basis to ever assume that Bill Cosby was a good person. Because he was on television.
Because he's good at playing it.
Yeah. I just assumed he was a good person.
Yeah.
And,
that's a fabulous point.
Yeah, we do that with celebrities all the time. So when something horrendous comes out about them, what? How could that happen? How could that be? What do you mean? And it's just like, well, because there's a certain percentage of the population that are dirtbags, and that just because you're rich and powerful doesn't exclude you from being a dirtbag. You're just a talented dirtbag who found a way to make a lot of money. But, in every form of society, again, there's a certain amount of percentage that are just dirtbags. That applies across all society, whether you're rich, poor, famous, not famous. Mm-hmm. There's some, and again, I think for some people, and we've seen it, Al. We've seen people in our lives who have gone on to fame and money and things like that. And we've seen guys who are the same person, the same good, decent human being that they were before, and we've seen people who let it go to their head and just become a changed person. So I think it's funny, but yeah, the Jeffrey Epstein thing was even one. Even the whole public was like, all right, hold on here. Like I've never seen an entire population just go, okay, now you've gone too far. This is too convenient.
But what happened? What came from it? Other than like funny memes, what really came from it?
That's the thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like people know, and you may not know on a conscious level, but I think everybody on an unconscious level has to know something's off. You've got to at this point. I would just common whatever makes you a human. You've got to know something's just not right. Something's just a little off. But
somebody got a lot of money to go into this guy's cell and kill him. Like whether that was a guard, whether that was somebody they let waltz into the prison. Somebody got paid a lot of money to go kill this guy to make sure a lot of very powerful people's deep, dark secrets didn't get out in the open.
Yeah. Or he was taken out of the prison and he escaped and he's still alive.
That's another theory.
Just not around. Yeah, I've heard that one too. And that one I'm not saying that one has any reason to be deemed less credible than anything else. I mean,
well, he himself is a rich, powerful person.
Exactly.
You know, like it's, you know, I mean, yeah, it's completely possible. Or you think about like, you know, how did Whitey Bulger escape? You know, get caught for all these years, and it was almost like, all right, well, now it's time for me to just go get caught, and then what? He was killed how quickly in jail? You know,
yeah.
It's, you know, I don't know. There are things like they're conspiracy theories. I don't know where the definition of conspiracy theory and just like, yeah, there's some weird stuff going on here, and people are trying to protect their hides, protect their asses a little bit. You know, everybody's got a contingency plan.
I mean, like another thing, just kind of coming a little more current. I think it was something like over 200 CEOs of major organizations and companies have resigned in the last like 4 or 5 months.
Right before all this
crap happened. So that's another thing that lends to the conspiracy aspect of everything going on. Is this something that they all knew was going to happen? Is this something they all prepared for? Because I know a lot of rich, powerful elites, I'm putting my hands up, you know, in quotes, that they were buying bunkers, they were relocating out of the United States. A lot of people taking off, leaving, selling stocks, things like that.
Remember when everyone was moving to New Zealand? I wonder if this was...
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they had to, maybe didn't know this is what was coming, but they knew something was coming. And there's no way to argue that.
We knew what was happening with this. We knew it was going to... I mean, the response from the government was pretty terrible in this. And again, you're talking about the people who sold off stocks were privy to daily briefings on COVID-19. They knew exactly what was coming. They sold off stocks rather quickly. Again, Bob Iger from Disney resigns. Bill Gates steps down from the board of Microsoft, all to just go right into philanthropy before this happens. Like, is it Lockheed Martin, like their CEO, another like defense company, like all these powerful. And I was noticing this and thinking before this all even blew out. Because I try to keep up on like business things and read business articles, and I had a conversation with them like, this is weird. Like all these, it was actually Jamie, like all these people are, resigning from these companies. This is weird. Like this is weird for all this to be happening. And again, do I think? I mean, this is obviously a very real thing. How you believe it started or what that. I won't get into that. Maybe that'll be like a 5 years down the line episode of my beliefs on all this. But people knew this was coming. People knew how hard it was going to hit. Mm-hmm. I don't know if our government was in denial, or certain people in our government were in denial and didn't feel the need to try to take measures to prevent it beforehand or anything like that. But people knew this were coming. People knew it could get bad like 2 months ago. And if you read certain things, there's belief that this was here, as early as like December. And I think about. I'm not saying I had this. This is not me saying, "Oh my God, I had this." But I think it was like late December, early January. I had like a upper respiratory thing. It wasn't the flu. It lasted for a good 2 weeks. I remember people at work like, "Oh my God, you still have that cough?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it just won't go away." But it wasn't bad enough for me to go to the doctor. And who knows? I mean, you don't really know. Again, I'm not trying to say I had COVID-19 or anything like that.
No, because we had the same thing go through our family.
Yeah. So we don't really know how long this has been here. I know that there were spikes in flu deaths this year. Mm-hmm. So I mean, we don't know. And the more we all think we know. I think of some of the facts that we were taught as kids. We were taught that there was 9 planets and that we're alone and all these things. And now we know there's billions of planets. There's an infinite amount of planets, including habitable ones, and all these things that are fact. Fact. This is fact. And then 10 years later, oh, that's not a fact anymore. But wait, facts don't change. The more
such a
astute observation.
Yes, an astute observation. Thank you.
I'll call it human arrogance. I think there's a lot of human arrogance. That's like when people talk about the end of the world. It's like, well, I hate to break it to you people. The end of human existence is not the end of the world. the planet has had, 7 mass extinctions? So, just because humans don't exist doesn't mean that this planet isn't going to continue for another few billion years. So there's a lot of human arrogance.
It's the end of their world, not the world.
Yep.
Yeah, this is the most important thing in history. And the thing that always puts it in perspective for me is, and we can end on this. I'm going down these weird rabbit holes. But the thing that always puts it in perspective for me is, like, if the history of the Earth was a book, like, humans would show up in the last sentence of the last paragraph. Like, that's how insignificant we are to the history of this planet. So, take it for what it's worth.
Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah.
No, I'd have to agree with you there. Yeah.
Yeah.
This has been fun. This has been super fun.
So, to wrap it up, is there anything you want to tell the listeners?
Social media, anything you want to plug?
Well, I mean, please don't think I'm a crazy person after listening to this episode.
No,
I hope you
he's
still
not.
follow my pro wrestling career.
I think if anything, it made you even more awesome, and you should have more fans.
But yeah, I mean, I'm on Twitter at Brian Milonas, Instagram Brian Milonas KP. I don't have a podcast anymore, so I
Which I'm
have a pro
very
wrestling
sad
tee
about. But yes, book your pro wrestling t-shirt store.
Yep, BrianMilonas.com. Some great T-shirts, up there if you're so inclined. I will say, for those listening, go support the people out there. There's a lot of people in wrestling who, were doing well financially with wrestling, and then now there is no wrestling. So I would say I'm very fortunate right now. Knock on wood, even though it's a glass table. I'm
knocking on wood for you.
I have a job that I can still support my family on right now. I mean, who knows how 6 months from now we'll see what happens. But right now, I'm fortunate enough. So go support them. Go support and support if you can. It's uncertain times. Take care of your own first. And for the love of God, stay home, please. Stay home, because sooner or later, I'd like to get back to doing all the things that I love and enjoy.
Stay home, listen and watch our podcast, and that's all. We're putting out some bonus episodes too for people, so yeah.
You can call this the mental meltdown of Brian Milonas this episode.
All right.
You got it.
We have our title now. There it
There
is.
you go.
Awesome. All right. You hang on for just a second, Theo and I. We'll go ahead and wrap this up.
Yeah.
So, until next time, I am the Golden Greek Alex Arion, joined as always by my beautiful, lovely, gorgeous, amazing trophy wife, Monique.
And you can find us on Twitter at HomewreckerPod, on Instagram, Homewrecker Podcast, and our website, homewreckerpodcast.com.
I forgot
You
all of that.
did, but I got your back.
All right. My trophy wife, Monique.
And you've been listening to the Homewrecker Podcast.